Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being part of our program. Listen to this story. Dateline, Dover, New Hampshire. Ted Nugent has admitted he fathered the 8-year-old son of a Dover woman, that's Dover, New Hampshire, suing the 1970s rocker for child support and custody, according to her lawyer. Karen Gutowski, 43, sued Nugent for custody and support in August in Strafford County Superior Court. Her lawyer, Jeffrey Runge, said Nugent, 55, has acknowledged he is the father and paid minimal support, but has never met the boy. Nugent's lawyers, meanwhile, have asked the courts to make appropriate custodial and visitation rights for Nugent. Runge says Nugent is trying to intimidate his client into withdrawing questions about Nugent's finances. Yeah, this is a newspaper there in New Hampshire, by the way. I have to tell you this because it doesn't sound like the name of a newspaper. In a Foster's Daily Democrat interview last fall, Runge said that, quote, given the fact that he's worth millions and millions of dollars, he's paying the amount someone making about $20,000 per year would pay. 8 years after the child is born, Runge wrote, this is the attorney, Nugent, quote, miraculously decides he wants some component of custody. Indeed, Nugent's motives are suspicious and appear more intended to intimidate and harass the petitioner. Runge lists 25 sources of income for Nugent, including concerts, album sales, Nugent's radio and television shows, beef jerky sales, and a recent book called God, Guns, and Rock and Roll. Nugent has sold millions of albums. He is a renowned hunting enthusiast, member of the National Rifle Association's board of directors, and host of a new reality television show on VH1 called Surviving Nugent, filmed on his Concord, Michigan ranch. Nugent was named Michigan Conservationist of the Year in 1999 and has been named Father of the Year at his child's school. Well, he's certainly prolific. That's according to a biography on tednugent.com. I wonder if his bastard child is listed there. We should check and see if Ted's bastard child is listed on tednugent.com. By the way, in case you were wondering, Nugent has 2 children with his wife. His name is Shemaine Nugent. Shemaine. So, there is your deal. Now, imagine being the wife, okay? Because anybody who's paid any attention to Ted Nugent, if you've seen the guy, you know that he, like so many of these rockers, the guy has this wild stage show and this wild persona, but in reality, he lives in what is largely an upper middle class area, and his kids go to a normal school, and you're right, Dan, it's like Alice Cooper, it's like a lot of these guys. Alice Cooper, who lives in Paradise Valley, Arizona, used to live next door to the late Senator Barry Goldwater. And who was the complaining neighbor? The complaining neighbor. Who was complaining about the noise? Alice Cooper was complaining that Barry Goldwater was out shooting his gun off in the backyard. It was not the other way around. And the same thing here with Ted Nugent. Mr. Hunter, Mr. Cat Scratch Fever, Mr. I'm Outrageous, but in reality, he's the father of the year at his child's school, and he's got 2 kids, and he... blah, blah, blah. So imagine being his wife, and this story comes out. Now, I don't know if she just found out, or she found out a couple of years ago, or maybe she's always known about it. I have no idea. But I always wonder how people like that stay in a relationship, okay? You're married or you're living with someone, and there's a knock at the door, or there's court papers being delivered, or your paycheck is suddenly being docked. And suddenly, an explanation is due. How in the hell did this happen? You really got to wonder. How the hell did it happen? And how the hell do people stay together like this? I mean, if you're the wife, what are you staying for the money? I don't understand why somebody would stay with a guy who does that. You know, it's one thing to stay with a guy who's screwed around, okay? That's bad enough. That's hard enough to do. Like you find out that he screwed around and getting the trust back and all that. Believe me, I've been a very bad boy. I know all about it. But one thing I've never done is had to go home and say, not only have I been screwing another broad, but she's got an 8-year-old son. This ain't never happened. Never. So, although it is my worst nightmare, and I mean it, can I tell you something? I mean, it's worse than dreams of the Holocaust, or dreams of plane crashes, or dreams that the elevator cable snaps and the elevator, falls 20 stories and I crash to the ground. Worse than that is I'm sitting home twiddling my thumbs, pounding the old you-know-what, and suddenly, ding-dong, and it's like legal papers, and I find out that somewhere there's a Tom Leykis Jr. out there, and now I've got to explain myself. Yikes! That's the worst! I have woken up in a cold sweat. Imagine getting that call. Hi. You haven't called me in a long time. I'm not surprised that you haven't called, because I have something to tell you. And I have a feeling you knew that I would have news for you. So let me just tell you, you better sit down. Because I'm sitting here with Tom Leykis Jr. And you owe me $750,000. And if you don't pay up, I'm going to call your girlfriend or wife or whoever you're with at the time, and I'm going to tell them. I'm going to put your son on the phone. Then you'll pay up, because you'll have no choice. I swear to you, I've had these dreams. I bet a lot of you boys have had dreams like that. So many of us have ticking time bombs out there, we don't even know it. But what I want to talk about is, all right, there you are, you're with somebody, and you've got this relationship going, right? Two of you are childless, and you go away for weekends, and you eat at nice restaurants, and you're talking about getting married, or maybe you are married. And you've got your house, and your house is not exactly, it's an adult house. It's not a house that you would have any children to visit, much less live there, with expensive things, or just stuff you value, or maybe it's just, not safe for a kid because you get too many stairs, you got windows the kids can fall out, or whatever. And one day, there you are, ladies. There you're just sitting home, dusting, and thinking, my God, I'm so lucky to meet somebody like Tad. He's such a great guy, and we get along so well. And suddenly the phone rings, and it's like, is this Mrs. Tad Stevens? Yeah, I know Tad. In fact, I think I knew a tad more than you do. And suddenly, the whole story spills out. The whole story unravels. Or one day, you find your husband's pay stub lying around. And there's a miscellaneous deduction there amongst the federal taxes and the state income taxes and the Medicare taxes and the FICA taxes and the 401k deductions and the cost of medical insurance and all that. There's kind of a miscellaneous deduction of several $100s out of the old paycheck. You take the paycheck over to your hubby and you say, honey, what's this? And then he tells you. He knocks some chick up and they're docking his paycheck. Now, how many of you have stayed through an ordeal like this? You're living it right now. Maybe it is a nightmare. Maybe it's a living nightmare. How many of you are living through this nightmare right now? Now, obviously, I'm going to primarily talk to women this hour because, well, let's face it, it's not like the guy who screwed around and he knows he screwed around and he knows this is possible. You are living this blissful existence with Mr. Right, Mr. Prince Charming, scratches his ass and watches ESPN. And one day, suddenly it was turned upside down because you found out Mr. Right had a kid. By the way, I think there are cultural issues here because I know a little bit about this. Latin chicks are much more likely to stay and say, hey, that's your child. Live up to your responsibilities and just kind of accept it. They may throw a remote control at you or some other things, but they'll accept it. Whereas I think your basic Caucasians many times will say, screw you, I'm leaving. So tell me, have you had this experience? There you were, just living this blissful life, blissful existence with the guy of your dreams. And suddenly you find out he knocked somebody up and he has a child. Maybe he knew about it. Maybe he didn't know about it. And now you have to decide what to do.
Tom. 1-800-5800-TOM. Tom.
I remember you said this once. You said I could fart $3,000.
Yes. By the way, I have a new contract now. I'm farting 5,000 at a time.
Good for you.
The Tom Leykis Show.
Tom Leykis Show. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. All right. There you are with your boyfriend, husband, whatever, living together, living in bliss. Blissfully living together. And suddenly, somehow, you find out that he knocked up some other broad. Maybe it was last week, last month, last year. Maybe it was 8 years ago, like Ted Nugent. What did that do to your relationship? And to you, Michelle. Hello.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Michelle.
I'm exactly what you just said right now about the Latin girl who accepted it. I mean, I didn't find out till after 8 months that we were dating. You know, after we said we loved each other already and, you know, we're pretty much attached. He tells me he has not one, but 2 kids.
So he knew it?
Yeah, he did. He just didn't tell me.
And he didn't tell you until you fell in love with him?
Yeah. He said he didn't want to lose me and, you know, I didn't even know. I mean, after that point, I felt kind of trapped a little bit. Like, you know, I don't have any kids. I'm 23. I'm working on my master's and, you know, I'm in the military, so that doesn't help. And, you know, he tells me all this and I have so many things in my mind. I mean, I worked with him. It's hard. It still is hard. I mean, I wish I never knew. And I kind of I really hold it against him.
And you realize that if he's paying child support, are you married now?
Not yet.
If you get married, they will start considering your income in child support calculations.
Right now, he's in the military as well, and he pays, I mean, if he wasn't in the military and he made what he makes, I don't know how he would live if he had to do, you know, I just don't, he barely does it now with, you know, car payments and stuff.
And so these 2 kids are with 2 different mothers?
Yes.
How do you make that mistake twice? Did you ask him that question?
I did. Like, you know, sometimes we argue and it frustrates me. Like, how could you know, you trapped me. You know, you shouldn't have done that to me. And then I said, God, how, you know, you didn't learn the first time I tell him. And he just doesn't say anything. He's just like, you know, I don't know, it's just a mistake. But I guess, you know, it's been like 2 years now.
And how will you feel if you get married and suddenly they're taking child support out of your paycheck?
I didn't know. That's what they do?
Well, I'm not exactly sure how it's done because, fortunately, it's never happened to me. But these bitches he was with who did this, if they find out... if they find out he married you, they'll want to get back at him and you. They can go back and file for a change in child support.
I mean, they won't even... He asked, you know, if he can at least we're both on our way to Iraq. He's already there. I'm leaving on Saturday. And he asked if he can see one of the kids before, and she won't let him, like, see him at all.
Well, that's the way our society is. We require men to pay child support, but we don't require that women provide visitation.
Yeah, I thought that's at least fair, you know, and she...
But you realize marrying him will mean more child support coming out of the 2 of you.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, would you still marry him?
I don't know. I mean, the reason why I stuck through was because I loved him and stuff, and...
But he lied to you.
Yeah, he did.
He concealed this, and it has... See, it would be one thing if it were his problem, When he marries you, it's going to become your problem.
Yeah.
All they have to do is find out you married him, and they can apply for increased child support because now you both have an income coming in.
And then if we have a child, oh, God.
Right.
We'll really be broke.
He may be paying more to the children from the past than to the one that you have together.
Yeah.
And do you really want to do that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm 23, he's 28. Sometimes I feel like I'm getting my master's and stuff. He doesn't even know what he wants to do when he gets out of the military, which is right when he comes back about 8 months.
Because he spent his time knocking up chicks?
I know. I'm not sure. I was just right as you said that about the Latin girl that, would accept it. That was me, like right off.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
sure.
why would you? I mean, he slid one by you. And then you're going to have to pay.
I didn't know about that. I just thought, they only take it from his income. And
talk to any attorney.
Wow. I didn't know that. And it's like a certain percentage, right?
I don't know exactly what the formula is or how it works, but all I know is that he pays a certain amount now based on how much he makes.
Mm-hmm.
But
and
if
now,
the two of you get married and you don't have a prenup and your income is not protected, you have it in a joint account, they will look at that as his income that they can draw from.
So if we did a prenup that says, like, they can't take any of my money to pay his child support?
Well, that's something you need to talk over with an attorney. But I'll tell you what, I don't think you can escape by doing a prenup. And so that's really something you have to think about.
Yeah.
How will you feel? Think about the resentment when you start paying child support to these two bitches who hate your guts.
No, I won't. I said that already. I mean, I said they're already taking enough. Like, pretty much I pay a lot of the time that we do anything, already because, it's like, hey, you want to go bowling? Well, I'm kind of,
Yeah, he's broke, so you have to make up the difference. So indirectly, you're already paying. Debbie, what do you want to say to Michelle here?
Hey, Michelle, you know what? I dump him. If he's lying to you already and you're not even married and he's telling you about these children that he had and he tells you after you fall in love with him, it's just the beginning. One thing, though, I know because I get child support from my ex-husband, and they can't go after your income. They only base it on his income.
Okay.
But still, that doesn't matter because, like Tom said, they're going to get your money anyway already. You don't need somebody that already starts a relationship lying to you.
Oh, God, I think I agree with you, Debbie. Both of you, thank you for calling.
The Tom Leykis Show. This is the Tom Leykis Show.
From Los Angeles at 1-800-5800-TOM. That's our telephone number. Thank you for tuning in. Ted Nugent, 55 years old, father of the year at his child's school. He's got 2 kids with his wife, Shemaine Nugent. Now we find out that Ted has admitted he fathered the 8-year-old son of a Dover, New Hampshire woman. She sued him for child support and custody. Now imagine you're Mrs. Ted Nugent, and you find out this news. I mean, what happens to your life after that, huh? 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. It's Renee on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
Okay, Renee.
Well, I was 24, and our babysitter came to our house and told us that she was 4 months pregnant. But at the same time, I was 3 months pregnant.
But did she tell you who the father was?
Yeah, she did. She said my husband.
No.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Put it this way, you never think about hanging yourself, but about that time, oh, yeah.
So you had a kid because she was the babysitter.
Right.
And you were
I had 2 boys.
You had 2 boys, and you were pregnant with another child.
Right.
And then the babysitter shows up, and she's pregnant. Boy, your husband is prolific.
Well, you know what? I had lots of names for him way back then.
I'll bet. Now, he was not there when she came over. Is that what happened?
Well, actually, what it was is she started watching my boys, and then she wound up moving in with us. And she stayed with us for about 2 weeks. I thought something was weird. And then the next thing I know, she's moving out. And I'm still thinking everything was fine until she comes to my house with her mother and tells me that she's pregnant. And thank God, my parents were actually there at the very same time that they came and told me that.
But your husband wasn't there.
No, he was there too. He, put it this way, he hid in the bedroom. He was listening to it all, but he hid in the bedroom.
He hid in the bedroom?
Yeah, he was afraid my father was going to kill him.
Did he try?
Yeah.
Did his father try to kill him?
No, my father.
Oh, your father? Did your father try to kill him?
Oh, he wanted to many times.
Uh-huh.
Many times.
So, what was that like hearing that? I'd try to relive that for me for a moment. I know it's difficult, but what was that like hearing those words?
It's kind of hard to say. You know, then I was 25. Now I'm actually 44. And I was just livid. I felt like my world had came to a complete end.
How old was the babysitter?
The babysitter was 15.
15?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So what happened?
She's been a stalker. Complete stalker. She finally just, I know the little girl. Well, she's not actually little. She's 15. We get along great. But the mother's a psychopath. Complete psychopath. I went through everything as far as...
That's the woman who was taking care of your children.
Right. She was putting naked pictures in my mailbox, hoping that my husband would reminisce when he found them in the mailbox.
Uh-huh.
Just little things like that. In fact, she's into witchcraft. And when I was having my third child, I wound up losing my first, the one that I was pregnant with. I lost that child, and I got pregnant later on.
Wonder if the stress had anything to do with that.
Oh, total stress. You didn't know if you were coming or going.
Wow.
It took me weeks. I would just lay in bed. I couldn't believe that was happening. Now, you always hear stories like that, but you never believe that it's going to happen to you.
Now, what made you stay with your husband after he put you through?
To tell you the truth, I didn't stay with him. We wound up breaking up, and he...
Right away?
We weren't together for a year. And then he had to show himself, prove himself to me that, he could be a good man again. It took us a long time, but we've been together for 27 years. I met him when we were in the 11th grade.
Mm-hmm. And how did he prove that?
Just put it this way. When we were younger, he was never home. Always gone, always gone. Now I almost have to pay him to go somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, so, things have totally turned around. So I just want women out there to know that, that can happen, might happen, but if you love them enough, you can work through it, and that's exactly what we did. We worked through it.
Wow.
Just being truthful, not lying, and I know it took me a very long time. He would tell me one thing, and I would, in the back of my mind, I'd be going, are you telling me the truth? Did you bang anybody else during that year you were split up? Yes, I did. How was that? You know what? I've been with him since I was 16 years old, and he always tells me, when was your best time? And I'll say, when I was 28, because that's when we broke up, and I did the things that I didn't do when I was 16 and 17. How many guys did you do? I was seeing about 4. Yeah, see, that's the way you do it. If people always say, how am I ever going to get over this religion? Bang as many people as you can. Exactly. That's right. Realize how desirable you are. Well, you know what? I am 44, but I'm told all the time that I look 30. So I don't even have a problem now, and he knows that. That keeps him in line. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to call in. I was on the way home, and I heard this conversation, and I thought, I love you to death. I listen to you every day. And you know what? He's the one that turned you on to me. Wow. He just says, hey, you got to listen to this guy. This guy is great. And so I commute. I work in the valley, but I live far away, and we actually listen to you on the way home. Sounds good to me, Renee. Thanks for the call. Tom Leykis. Woof. Tom Leykis. Woof. 800. 500. Tom.
The Tom Leykis Show.
Tom Leykis Show at 1-800-5800-TOM. We started off with a story about Ted Nugent. Married, 2 children. Now admits he fathered an 8-year-old child of a woman in Dover, New Hampshire. She's now suing him for child support and custody. And I wonder what it's like being the wife in that situation. Like, do you stay? Why do you stay? Have you been through this yourself? Where suddenly you find out the person you're with has a child you didn't know about, whether it was before your marriage or your relationship or whether it happened during. I want to hear your story. I want to hear how you dealt with it. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. This is Lisa. Now, Lisa was not in this situation. Lisa is an attorney. Lisa, hi.
Hi, Tom.
What's up?
No, I was not in that situation, but I have seen it many times. I used to work in child support enforcement for an enforcement agency here in Southern California that will remain unnamed before they turn it over to the state. But I have seen this situation. I just wanted to call and clear up, what can and can't be attached as far as child support. I know that you had a call.
Now, this is only for California, right? Because remember, we're on in a bunch of states here.
Absolutely. I'm only licensed in California.
Right, okay.
The custodial parent cannot attach the wages of the new spouse. And they cannot attach any property of the new spouse. Where it does come into play is when you're calculating it based on the non-custodial parent's tax status, because your tax status changes when you get married, and that is taken into account. And depending on some other factors, if your taxable income goes up as a result of getting married, then your child support can increase.
So, in effect, even though it isn't directly being docked from the paycheck of your girlfriend or your wife or whatever, ultimately, that person is going to end up paying.
So it may end up paying because it does affect. It will affect it can affect the calculation of the father, the non-custodial parent. It can affect the calculation of his income.
Now, what if there is a prenuptial agreement?
I don't believe that affects the calculation of the income.
So there's no way you'd get married to somebody with a prenup that says my money is mine, your money is yours, we have separate accounts, we don't commingle our finances, blah blah blah. That wouldn't work.
It would depend on the financial situation of the particular person, but that sounds like a married filing separately type of tax status, which can still increase which cases could still increase the taxable income of the paying spouse. Where I've seen it come into,
what if you just simply filed single?
Because
I'd sooner give the money to the government than some bitch from my past.
I'm not a tax attorney, so I couldn't answer that question.
Right.
Where I did see a lot of problems coming in, is that if there are arrears, the enforcement agencies can intercept a tax refund, and if that is a joint tax refund, that's both of your money. Now, the new spouse can file an injured spouse claim and get the portion of the refund that's attributable to her income refunded. But it's still, until that happens, the whole refund has been intercepted, and that I've seen that cause a lot of problems, particularly with people who get the rapid refund, where H&R Block or whatever tax preparing service you're using advances you your refund. If your enforcement agency comes in and intercepts that, then you're on the hook in H&R Block because they've advanced you the money, and that can cause a lot of problems. So,
wow, what a mess.
Keep that in mind.
All right, my general recommendation to women in this situation would be, if you haven't married the guy yet, don't marry him. Who needs this?
Obviously it's up to the particular person, but it's certainly something you have to consider and have to.
It will be lifelong resentment every time money's going out the door. I don't know how any marriage could survive that.
I would agree with that. Hey, Tom, before I let you go, can I make a request for an Ask the Atheist? I'm an agnostic. My husband is an atheist. He's a big fan of yours. Passion of the Christ is coming out, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, your fundamentalist frothing at the mouth, and I would love an Ask an Atheist segment if you can work that in.
We'll have one coming up soon.
Great.
Lisa, thank you. Appreciate the call. 1-800-5800-TOM. Lynn on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hi.
Okay,
you want to hear my story?
No, I thought we'd just sit here and whistle Dixie for 20 minutes.
I'm really nervous. Never called in before.
It's just you, me, and 3 million listeners. No big deal. Relax.
I got married to my husband, and about a year and a half after we were married, about 4 months after I gave birth to our first child, my husband got a letter in the mail saying, "You are being sued," from the district attorney's office, Child Support Services.
Right.
So we didn't have any idea what this was about. And come to find out, it was an ex-girlfriend, and he had a 12-year-old daughter.
12 years old?
12 years old.
And he never knew about this?
Well, that's kind of a different story. It was one of those things where they broke up. She said she was pregnant. She said, "You have to marry me." He said, "No, I'm not going to do that." And then she said, the child's not yours, and he was in the service, and he went his merry way and didn't hear from her for 12 years.
Wow.
So we went to court for a couple of years, and I did almost leave. I heard you talking about that. It's a very difficult thing to go through, but we pay child support. They do have a lien on our home. They did take my money, my finances into consideration. I make more money than my husband, but it didn't do us much good. She only wanted our money. That's why she went to court.
Of course. That's generally why.
Well, we fought for partial custody, and we got partial custody. However, the child is so screwed up that she heard stories about her dad, and we can't fix that. And when she does come to our home, it's very difficult. We have 2 children together, and he has another child as well, and it's very difficult to have all the children together because the stories that go by and the things that she says. And it's she's welcome in our home anytime she wants to. She's 16, she'll be 17. However, she chooses not to come. And when, like I said, when she does come, it just wreaks havoc in our home. But financially, they garnish his wages. They treat him like crap at the DA's office, the child support office.
That's what we hear.
So, it's a horrible situation, and it's still a sore subject. I mean, we're counting the days until this child turns 18, and then she can come if she wants to come, but we don't have to deal with her mother, her stepfather, or any, I tell people all the time, do not marry people who have children. If I ever get a divorce, I don't ever intend to get into a relationship with someone who has children.
Are you sorry that you stayed sometimes?
Sometimes, absolutely, especially like when tax time comes around and you're fighting over who gets to claim the child, and and stuff like that. And when you have to take the phone calls from the other parents, or when I have little children. I mean, I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old, and my 5-year-old is old enough to understand that something's wrong, something's not right. The 1-year-old doesn't know the difference. And the other child is a teenager, and he understands, but it's all in dad. And then I'm step monster.
Oh boy.
So I'm the horrible person. I'm the one that does this. I've welcomed these children in my home. I mean, he already had the one that I knew about, but to find out about another one, I did almost leave.
Oh boy, and I don't blame you.
1-800-5800.
I just want to announce to all the women out there that there's the image of Jesus on my penis, and I'll be standing out of the parking lot after the show. If you want to come down here and get a look, I'm going to be unzipping my fly, and then I expect you all to get on your knees and pray.
Better watch it, Tom. You're going to have a big old lineup out there tonight.
I know.
The Tom Leykis Show.
The Tom Leykis Show at 1-800-5800-TOM. This is Jasmine on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Jasmine. Do you care?
Yes, I actually do.
I'm doing great.
Well, where do I begin? I've been married to my husband for about, 2 years now. And during the time I was married, well, I am still married, but during the time I married him, he had like a past girlfriend. And she said that she was pregnant and it wasn't his and da-da-da. So they broke up or whatever. And then I came in the picture a while after. I married him, fell in love. And then during the time I was married with him 2 years, I got pregnant. 6 months I was pregnant. A letter came in the mail saying, hey, you know what? You owe child support. And let alone the baby that she had was 5 years now. So it's like
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? But I don't work. So he supports me, my daughter, and as well as himself. So now it's 5 years of back child support. They're asking for $400 to $600 a month. And my husband's a construction worker. So it's kind of tempting and it's hard to leave him.
And are you going to do it?
I'm debating. Actually, I'm to the point where I'm like, hell, I'm going to go.
You sound like you're ready to go.
Yeah, because he's even pressuring me to work. So, I'm not going to pay for his mistakes.
Yes. By the way, you're not married to him. Why'd you let him get you pregnant?
I don't know. It's kind of complicated.
Not a good idea, but your life, pal.
The Tom Leykis Show.